welcome back everyone, welcome back. We have returned here with our second match of the night. We just wrapped up with Firefly versus Lemon, and Firefly, he made that lemonade, Papi. He chowed it down, he chugged it, and he did take down Lemon 3-0. Lemon having a sour night tonight, but now we're getting into our second semifinals, into Cyan versus Coffee. The winner of this series plays against Firefly tomorrow in the grand finals. So who's it going to be? We have a Protoss, we have a Terran. I did mention before, these are some of the best Protoss and Terran in the region, and now they're facing off here and now. You can see the vetoes, Hard Lead and Solaris was vetoed by Cyan. Meanwhile, Radisson Station and Equilibrium were vetoed by Coffee. So Coffee vetoing some of these larger unorthodox maps. Now we're getting into game one. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the Protoss player Cyan with Mystery Gaming. And in the top left, we have as opponent, we have the Chinese Terran Coffee, also for Mystery Gaming. It is a bit of a team kill, but at least one Mystery Gaming player will advance on into the grand finals. Who is it going to be? The Protoss or the Terran? Can we avoid the mirror matchup finals? That's all I want. I'm a little bit biased here, a little bit, as I am going to be cheering here for the PvT finals, but we'll see. We shall see. Let's go. As we are settling on into this, a big shout out to the production team, because Cyan is Cyan, or he's blue at least. Big shout outs. This is something that we would always have an issue with. For those that are curious, there was a New Zealand player called Crimson, and there was an Australian player called Azure, and they needed their colors, okay? Azure needs to be blue, Crimson needed to be red, and likewise, Cyan also needs to be at least blue as well. So thankfully, production, they're on point. They got their colors correct. For now. Do have the colors on point. As we're settling into our openers, it looks like an economic opener out of Coffee. Coffee going for a Rax Expand single gas opener out of the Terran, which means a delayed factory. Which, meanwhile, Cyan going for a Gate Expand into Cybercore. Or sorry, Gate Cybercore Expand here. Standard opener out of Coffee. So standard opener out of Coffee, economic opener out of... I keep saying the wrong name. Economic opener out of Coffee, standard opener out of Cyan. There we go. What's messing me up, I'll be honest, is the name Coffee is on the bottom of the UI, but the player is on the top. So that was messing me up a little bit, but we're good, we're good. We're all good. As we have our CC on the way. Likewise, just getting into our opener, it's going to be an in-depth first here out of Cyan, looking to harass across the map, looking to keep up with the of course, Reaper opener. We'll see if he can. Reaper going to be dancing around, looking to keep an eye on the tech of choice, whether it's a Stargate or a Robo or even a Twilight Council. And so far, Reaper, he is going to take a couple of extra hits. Does not make his way into the main. Oh, yeah, and he will be zoned away. Good movement so far out of Cyan. He denies the scout, and as we can see, it is a Twilight Council opener. Should be for Blink. Oh, the probe! Unamas, one more shot, it would have gone down, but Coffee, he does manage to slip away with that Reaper. Does manage to escape. Back at home, that's going to be the second gateway. So far, Blink, Twilight Council opener into a second gateway. We'll keep an eye on the gateway count as the Reaper gets shut down. Oh, but we lose the Adept for the Reaper. A bit of a give and take there between our players. Coffee going for a safety Cyclone opener. Basically, he's covering his corners. Cyclone would be good against Stalkers, would be good against an Oracle opener as well, or even a Phoenix. We don't know if it's a Stargate or not. So Coffee's in the dark, so he's just trying to cover his bases, play as safely as possible, before getting into his Widowmine drop. Meanwhile, back at home, we are getting into additional gateway production, and that is a fourth gateway on the way. 4-gate Blink. Let's go. It's going to be 4-gate Blink here out of Cyan. A very aggressive build. Very aggressive. Coffee needs to realize what's going on, and he needs to prepare back at home. The Cyclone is caught out. Does get a bit of damage done, but does take a lot of hits as well. Coffee has to back off. Again, Coffee is denied the scout. He still doesn't know what's happening. There is a safety bunker on the low ground. We need tank production. Right now, we're busy making Widowmines for the drop, which is okay, but as soon as we finish Widowmine production, we need to transition, get a tech lab on that factory, and get into tanks as soon as possible. And there it is. Tech lab is on the way. We will soon get into tank production. The mine drop is moving out across the map. Can Cyan minimize losses against the mine drop? And then, can he counterattack thereafter? Because he is going to be pushing out with quite an amount of stalkers. Meanwhile, the mine drop needs to get a read on how many gateways, on what kind of build this is, on what Cyan is working with. Meanwhile, Cyan out of position. He's ready for a drop into the main. And the natural's exposed. Coffee going right for it. Well, threatening it at least. Does threaten a dive. Doesn't quite commit. Looks like it was spotted. And here we go. We can see Cyan going for a big counterattack. Meanwhile, the tech lab is done. Where is our tank production? Uh-oh. I'm not so sure if there is any, as no, we went for an add-on swap, not like this, no tank production whatsoever, no bunker in the main either. Cyan has potential. Cyan, he has potential to break his opponent here and now. Coffee is looking very vulnerable. Again, cutting corners, being greedy. Using his factory for an add-on swap instead. And what do we have to defend? We have one bunker on the low ground, we have a handful of units in the main. And what do we go for? Oh, the prism! Big overextension, big misstep there. Cyan throws his prism away, but he does break the natural. Bunker goes down, boys are being pulled. If we had the warp prism, we could reinforce, we could keep on pushing, but Cyan, again, with that miscontrol, with that misstep, we'll lose out on that. Loses 7 probes across the mine shots, they pop off. We are getting a lot of SCVs, but we could have gotten even more. We could have gotten more here. As we're bleeding our Marines, Stim isn't done. We get 11 SCVs in total. You can see Cyan reinforcing. Cyan should have rebuilt that War Prism, but I'm uncertain if he did. He gets a Cyclone. Bleeds out a couple of Stalkers. Reinforcements have arrived. Ooh, Medevacs are looking a little bit exposed as well. Managed to get a Widow Mine. Oh, a bit of a surround is set up from those reinforcements. Stalkers aren't going down. Expensive losses by Cyan. Oh, yeah, very expensive losses as Stim is done. We can chase down these Stalkers, and now Coffee can counterattack. He's trying to. Cyan, he follows the army with the Observer. He can see it. Oh! Stim is forced out. Cyan, oh, barely will escape. Blink is off cooldown just in time. Does manage to slip away. Behind this is getting his third base up and running, and now we're settling into the mid game. The aggression has subsided. Again, if Cyan didn't lose that Warp Prism, I feel like he may have been able to kill Coffee. That may have been just a dead Coffee then and there. But the Prism was thrown away, Coffee survives, now he has an army to work with, and now we have a back and forth. Here we go. When you see Cyan once again trying to pick up some Marauders, doesn't quite get one. Marauders are quite tanky. They do take a lot of hits. We see Coffee pushing right through the middle. Cyan going to try to intercept. Ooh, bleeds out a Stalker. Immortals are amassing. We have shield batteries. We have the overcharge. We have a couple of sentries for force fields. We are ready. And Cyan, he's done a decent job here at slowing down the army, but is it enough? We have the overcharge. We do pop the overcharge. Observers slipping in. And we can shut down those Widow Mines. We got both of them. Good target firing out of Cyan. Very nicely done. Coffee is forced back. Once again, you can see Cyan following the army. He is spotted. Big pickoff. Observer spotted. Observer gets shut down. Coffee setting up a trap. And the game progresses from here. Coffee is getting a third base. Third CC is on the way for the Terran. Meanwhile, Cyan, he's working towards Colossi production. The Bay is on the way. Robo is done. Only one Robo for the time being. But working towards Colossi, towards some kind of splash damage here. It's been a very tense couple of moments. As you can see, Cyan just trying to recover. The Prism gets spotted by the Marine. Coffee wants it. He wants the Prism, and it looks like he's going to be able to drop it over. He's going to be able to chase it down. Not again. The Prism will barely escape. Does get out of there. At the same time, Cyan not quite counterattacking. He's coming back. Respecting the army. Again, that's a lot of Marauders. It's very Marauder heavy. As Cyan, he's just sniping Widowmines left and right. You can see Coffee trying to look for the army. Cyan coming back home. More Widowmines being set up. Yeah, we've seen both players just kind of trying to outposition the other. It's been a game of army positioning, basically. Just a lot of movement so far. Cyan keeping tabs on the movement of Coffee. Our players just trying to outmaneuver each other. And from there, the dust is going to settle. We can see Coffee establish his third. As Coffee's getting his third base, Cyan is getting his fourth. God, that's so many. That's more Marauders than there are Marines, 100%. Look at that. That was crazy. Like, looking at the army, it's just a sea of Marauders. Jesus. It's a very hefty army, to say the least. Behind this, the Ghost Academy is done. So Cyan, he's working towards Ghost, towards EMPs. We're getting ready for a Zealot drop, but it is spotted by the Liberator. Big scout by Coffee. Oh, that's a big reaction out of Cyan, by the way. He's rotating his entire army over. He was. Thankfully, he pulls back. Zealot Ramais are attempting to be set up here on both the left and right hand side. Meanwhile, Coffee going for his own drop towards the natural. As the main army pushes through the center. The drop is spotted by the observer, but does Cyan see? He's in position. Oh, he's in position, shuts down the medevac. Does force it back. His main army is ready towards his fourth. Just exactly as Coffee's pushing in. So both armies will kind of be deflected by each other. Coffee bounces away. And we're getting into a longer game. Okay, so Coffee is working on his second eBay for 2-2 and 3-3 upgrades. We're getting into Disruptor production. Cyan, he's a Critical Mass of Colossus, so Disruptor's now on the way. As we're getting into Disruptors, though, we should be seeing a heavier commitment into Liberators. Coffee has been making Vikings, which is good, but we need ship weapon upgrades. A Fusion Core, second starport, working towards Libs eventually, once we get the fourth base. The fourth base is on the way. We'll see if Coffee heads in that direction or if he heads somewhere else. As again, even though there's been no kind of big major fights for the past couple of minutes, it's been very tense. It's been both players just kind of vying for map control, maneuvering around, spotting each other with Widowmines, with Marines, deflecting each other. Prism skirting its way into the main. Zealot Runby is spotted. The main army pushing through the center here for Cyan. And Coffee does see the army. Yeah, he's in position, trying to collapse, coming in for a flank. Never goes off. Only grazes the army. Good force fields out of Cyan. The Colossi, they go ham. They shut down most of the bio, but the Vikings, they're going to be able to shut down the Colossi. The Colossi may be falling, but there's just too much on the ground. Too much Protoss. Zealot Runby gets into the main base. In one swift move, Cyan, he breaks through the main army, and he also wreaks havoc in the main. GG gets called. Cyan takes game number 1. Oh my god. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Site Delta, we have our Chinese Protoss, Cyan, for Mystery Gaming. And in the bottom right, we have our Terran player, Coffee, for Mystery Gaming as well. Let's go. Again, Cyan, he has a slight lead in this series, but it's a best of 5. It's a best of 5, not a best of 3, so we have a little bit of room to work with here. Coffee, he's not down and out. Not yet, not by a long shot. So we are settling in. And as a reminder, in game 1, Coffee did go for an economic opener. He went for a Rax expand. Here, looking to be the same. Only a single gas geyser has been taken. And if that is gonna hold to be true, that it's only a single gas opener, which it is gonna be a faster CC. Which makes sense on Site Delta. Again, Site Delta is a much more defensive map. It is one of the few maps that actually has a ramp leading into the natural. So you have that high ground advantage at your natural. The only other map that has this in the current map pool is Radisson Station. The only other is Radisson Station. There we go, Coffee getting his racks up and running. Should be seeing a CC thereafter. Ooh, a very safe location though. So Coffee going for the command center right next to his main base. So this is a bit of a fake out. Basically, Coffee should be denying the scout. He should be walling off and should be denying this probe scout to make it look, or to keep his build hidden. As we can see, Cyan, he checks the natural, he sees that there's no command center, so it looks like a double gas opener. It looks more aggressive than it is. So basically, it's just a bit of a fake out by Coffee. Again, because the CC is thrown down so far away, it means that if the probe did go for a scout on the ramp, it won't have the vision to actually see the command center. Oh wait, is that a third? Coffee. No shot. Look at the production tab. That's a third CC. He's going 3 CC before factory. He's crazy. On site Delta. I've seen people do this on Radisson Station. But doing this on site Delta, I think I've seen it on Alcyone before. But here on site Delta, he's crazy. Because that is a natural and a third CC, then into a 3-racks. Very greedy build here. Very greedy out of Coffee. Can he get away with it? I think the last person that I saw do this was Bjorn, right? Bjorn has been mixing this into Alcyone. I've seen Maru do this. Spirit, of course, Spirit embraces this. It is a build that has been sparking up a little bit, but it's still, I would say, a rarity. And yeah, Coffee spicing it up here in game 2. And Cyan is unaware. He hasn't seen this yet. And I think what's important, even though we've seen a couple of Terran players whip this out from time to time, I don't think it's often enough for Cyan to have this in the back of his mind. I don't think this is popular enough for Cyan to like even consider this kind of build. So the third CC is up in the main base for for Coffee. We're getting into the 3-racks as they follow up. We have Stim on the way, +1. It is going to be a bio-heavy composition, a big timing with Stim eventually. And again, it's also with 1 gas geyser as well. So now we're getting to our second gas. So just very light on gas, very mineral intensive here. Going to a bio-heavy composition. Or marine-heavy composition. Meanwhile, it's a Twilight Council opener. So something that I will say is that 3-racks are ideal against Stargate openers. They can struggle sometimes against Twilight Council. It is Twilight Council. It is going to be Blink out of Cyan. With that, Coffee needs Marauders. And thankfully, he is sprinkling in a couple of Marauders with his army. As Marauders are going to be a necessity here to make this build work. Otherwise, the Stalkers will just have their way with you. Meanwhile, once again, I see 2 more gates. It's 4-gate Blink. Once again, it's going to be 4-gate Blink here. Who do I favor? That's a good question. I think I favor Cyan. I think I like the mobility of Blink Stalkers a little bit more. It does feel a little bit delayed, this 4-gate Blink, but we are pushing. And hopefully this time we don't lose the War Prism. Oh my, wait, what? Wait, what? He's going for a 3rd and 4th gateway, but he's going for a bay and a 3rd base. Interesting. Well, he spots the army. And he's preparing back at home. Immortal production has just come in. Shield batteries on the way. Late reaction. This is a late reaction out of Cyan. Can he get ready in time? He's looking to intercept, and he will run into the army. And he does get a Marauder. So far, good Blinks out of Cyan. Doesn't lose anything. Retaining all of his Stalkers. Slowly cutting back to the safety of his shield battery. And it looks like they will finish up in time. Cyan holds. Cyan, he does hold. Again, really nice micro with his Blink Stalkers. And he's going for a counterattack. Bold move. Bold move here out of Cyan. He does delay his 3rd. He catches some reinforcements. Trades out 1 Stalker. Worth it. As the 3rd base is now being taken. But Cyan, he can try to punish it. But, I mean, there's no reason to check. The scan does really Immortals. Boys are being pulled. They have to be. We only have 1 Marauder here back at home. And it's going to be focused down. And Coffee's out of position. He's racing back home. SCVs are falling left and right. Again, did not respect those Stalkers enough. And we take control of the natural. This would be game ending, if Coffee didn't have a third. As Cyan recalls back home, but Cyan, did he see? He does. He does see the third base. That was a good amount of damage, but because Coffee has a third base, he can actually maintain those losses. He can afford those losses. Cyan, he sees the third, he's trying to punish it. He moves out immediately. You know, he's like, what the hell did you just do? It's like, what have you done this game? You're crazy. And can he punish that third? For now, it doesn't look like he can. Coffee's in position. He's in position back at home. Fanning out a couple of Marines. Cyan, he does spot the army with the Observer. He sees the move out. As the army moves out, Cyan moves in. And there we go, Cyan, he's pushing in towards that third base. Not much to defend. Yeah, mules are being focused down, which we're about to expire. And Coffee's committed. Remember, recall's on cooldown. Recall is on cooldown. These Stalkers are not at home to defend, and Coffee is committed. He's going for a big push across the map. Can Cyan hold? Going for a double drop. Double drop into the main. There are Colossi, there are force fields, but we don't have enough to split up our army. There we go, we drop into the main base. We're pushing towards the third. Cyan getting pulled apart. And can he keep up? I don't think he can, as well. We're going for the third base. A big deep power, big Artosis payload in the main. The Colossus survives. The Colossi barely survives, but we're taking losses here at the third base. And we get a kill on the Nexus. The Nexus goes down. Big pick off there by Coffee. He didn't kill a lot of probes, but he did kill the third. Again, Cyan just did not have the numbers to defend. His gateways are being repowered. Ghost Academy is on the way. Coffee, he's denied mining at the third, but I believe he kept the orbital alive. I believe the base itself is still alive in the main. Did float over. And we're in a weird game state. 2 base versus 2 base. Coffee's on 2 bases because his third is denied. Meanwhile, Cyan's on 2 bases because his third was killed. But he did keep his Colossi alive. Meanwhile, as we have 3 Colossi and we're working on disruptors, we do see Cyan working towards Ghosts. Ghost Academy is done. 2 tours on the way. Ghost as well. Cyan, his army is very well upgraded. Very well upgraded. With Ghost, with EMPs, he can take a fight. That's a lot of Marauders. I say that though. But again, he doesn't have the best defensive position. Only 1 Widowmine. Shot gets baited out. Here comes Cyan. And with some good force fields, Cyan, he can break the third. Can break the third. He can maybe get more than that. Coffee needs time. He needs time to build up his army for an extra wave of Vikings, of Ghosts. EMP does connect. Big EMP here on some of those Colossi. That's another big warp in here of Zealots. We have a couple of Zealots rolling in towards the natural. Coffee. The force fields are a little bit too good. Boys are being pulled, but the force fields, they zone away the army. Yeah, the bio, it just cannot engage. You can see all those Marauders stuck in the back line. They cannot push in. We've cleaned up the SCVs, and now we can deal with the main army. Again, Cyan just picking Coffee apart. Good juggling. The force fields for the MVPs. GG gets called, and Cyan takes game number 2. GG, well played. But as we saw, didn't get all of the sentries. And if it did, and we're spotting in the bottom left-hand corner, we have our Chinese Protoss player for Mystery Gaming, Cyan. And in the top right, we have his opponent. We have the Red Terran, Coffee. Here we go. Cyan 1 game away from taking the series and from advancing on into those grand finals. Uno más is all he needs. Coffee, the pressure is on. He has to win every game moving forward to pull off the reverse sweep. Can we pull it off? Can we make some magic happen here and win 3 games in a row? It all starts with the first step. Game 1 or game 3 here. I want to believe. Coffee, for the first time, double gas opener. Let's go. Double gas opener at a coffee for the first time in this series. What does this mean? Fast factory. Fast factory, a much more aggressive build. This can lead into reactor cyclone production. This can lead into a Hellion drop. It can lead into a committed Widowmine drop. There's a lot that this can lead into with the faster factory. We'll keep an eye on coffee. Meanwhile, Cyan, he's gone for a 4-gate blink variation every game so far. Do we continue that? Do we continue with the Twilight Council? Again, Hecate is an interesting map as it's going to be a gate expand into Cybercore from the side of Cyan. Bit of a more economic greedy opener, delaying his Cybercore. But Hecate has a lot of bases. It's a very wide map, that is true, but it actually has a short rush distance by ground, so you can be quite assertive on Hecate. The downside is the ramp. There is a ramp leading up in towards that natural area, and it is very narrow. It's a very narrow ramp where I think we're about to come across it. Oh, and never mind, we're not looking at it, but there's a narrow ramp that you can hold on to, and it's very difficult to actually push up it. But if you can break through the ramp, if you can bypass the ramp, yeah, that ramp there, then you can still be quite aggressive on 2 bases. We'll see though. There's that factory on the way for coffee. Really slick move there. Did you see Cyan? He hid the probe from the Reaper, and he's going in for another scout. So the probe bypasses the Reaper. Reaper gets across the map, and we should scout the tech. It's going to be a Stargate opener here out of Cyan. Reaper threatening those probes, but does not quite get them. Probes do survive. And we can see now the purpose of that double gas opener. It is going to be for Widowmines. Widowmine drop is on the way. And I'll be honest, I think the Reaper didn't see the tech. The Adept is trying to keep up, and we do zone that Reaper away. We don't quite get a probe, and I believe we did not see the Stargate. So good defense so far out of Cyan. Keeps his workers alive, keeps his build hidden. Oracle is on the way, not Phoenix. Very important. Stargate openers usually lead into Phoenix openers, into Phoenix Colossus. As we can see, the Stargate wasn't scouted, and we're not going for Phoenixes, we're going for Oracles. Now, this is a double-edged sword. Oracles, they can do a lot of damage across the map. True, they can kill a lot of SCVs, but you won't be able to defend against drop play. Reaper does manage to bust in. We do scout the tech, we do scout the initial units, and we have eyes on the Oracle. Big scout there for coffee. Cyan barely out of position, and you can see the Widowmines reposition. We're going for a Marine drop with 1 Widowmine across the map, and we have 1 Widowmine in the mineral line to defend. And can Cyan get some damage done, or will he take the mine to the face? Meanwhile, the drop does end up bypassing those Adepts. Looks like we have been spotted. Yeah, we're racing back home. A wise move here out of Cyan. He's turning back around, and he is going to try to defend against this drop without taking too much damage. And Marines are coming in. Widowmine does burrow. Oh! Mine shot doesn't go up. That was a clutch move there out of Cyan. Did barely focus down that Widowmine. Coffee's backing off. But now he's aware of the build. Ooh, this is interesting. Okay, so traditionally in TVP, if your opponent goes for a Stargate opener, we don't go tanks. Usually there's no reason to. Tanks are typically reserved for like either 2-base play and 2-base all-ins, or for Blink Stalker defense. So there's no reason to invest into tanks right now. We do have 1 tank on the way. I'm curious if we invest into a 2nd tank. We are. Okay. We're going for really fast tank production here for Coffee. This is going to be leading into a very strong tank push. And we'll see if we pull the boys with it. We're going to have potential here. We could pull the boys, or we could expand. But there's going to be a lot of tanks. Oh. Good positioning out of Coffee. Does intercept the Oracles. 2nd tank is on the way. Liberator is on the way. Just anything and everything that can shoot for Coffee. We do have some safety turrets just in case. Phoenixes are on the way. Oracles, they do dip in. There is a Widowmine in the mineral line. Oh, doesn't go up. But we shut down one of the Oracles. We get eyes on the tank production. That should be a tail, and Immortals are on the way. There you go. Coffee, he is pushing. He is committed. Has an SCV to help support. Only 1, though. We don't want to waste the stasis. Speaking of, no! The stasis! We focus on the Cyclone and the Marines. They barely don't take the Stace to the face. Coffee sees. He notices. Good reaction out of the Terran. Does avoid the Stasis trap. The Phoenix, they tried to pick up the tanks, but it looks like they will land. Immortal does focus one of them down. But Coffee, he may have too much. He's breaking through. We have the overcharge, but it's going to be focused down. Yeah, the overcharge does nothing. Massive mine shot goes off, and Coffee, he's slowly breaking through. He's getting on top of the third. Reinforcements are barely on the way. Boys are being pulled. And Coffee, it looks like he barely has too much. He does focus on even more of these Stalkers. We do get the lib. The Immortal doing what they can. But there's just too much to support. Good juggling here out of Coffee. The tanks, they siege up. The Liberators will take control of the third base. Coffee does lose the tank. Does barely lose the tank here. Now what's important is that Cyan is going to lose his third. That is true. But can he hold on to the natural? Can he survive this? That charge just started. We have another Immortal on the way. We just don't have the numbers. We don't have the units to defend. Coffee, if he wanted to, he could kill this third and he could keep pushing. He could keep pushing from there. Oh, tank is getting caught out. We do catch one of the reinforcements. Not even. The tank survived. Yeah, the tank does survive. Behind this, Coffee is not all in. He's expanding. He's taking his third base. He will maintain an economic lead. Overcharge is popped. So with that overcharge, can we break through? It's going to be close. The Immortal goes down. Overcharge is not good enough. Yeah, the tanks, they just add so much DPS here. And now we can back off. Phoenix is going to try and punish this. They try to. Quick siege there out of Cyan. Sorry, out of Coffee. Coffee, can he get back home? He's on his way. You can see him turning back around, racing back home. Third base is almost done. Yeah, we're going to be main-arding those SCVs over towards the third. At the same time, Marine drop into the natural. Cyan out of position. This could get damage done. We're going to copper bomb the natural in the main base. This shouldn't get much done. Yeah, Cyan, he should clean this up. Yeah, Marines are going down. Medevac as well. A little bit wasteful for Coffee. But he distracts the army, and now he's pushing towards the third. He's crazy. Coffee, he really wants to just kill Cyan here and now, but he has to respect him. He has to back off. Has to be very careful not to throw away these tanks. As he's up to 4 tanks, they are the backbone of his army. Cyan, it's going to be his turn to push out instead. Coffee getting ready to receive. And he's got a good amount of Marauders. We do pick off a tank. We do have the high ground as well. Ooh, Coffee out of position. Yeah, it looks like we catch another tank and we can push towards the natural. The tanks, they're out of range. Not where they need to be. Boys are being pulled. But the Marauders, they come in from behind. They collapse on top of the Colossi. They get both of them. Big pickoffs. Without those Colossi, there's not enough Protoss. Yeah, the Stalkers are going down one after the other. There was potential with this push, but we clean everything up. Cyan did kill 16 SCVs, which is nice, but the worker counts are still pretty close. We still have a pretty comparable economy. Coffee has mules. And the Colossus count got reset. Cyan, he's in a lot of trouble. And I'm not sure if he can defend against this attack. Yeah, Coffee snowballing out of control. We have a hefty amount of Marauders, Marines, tanks. Cyan, he overextended earlier and he's being punished for it. Good force fields. But the shield battery is being focused down. The tanks are sieged. And there's no holding onto this third. It's not going to happen. Cyan doing his best here to try to keep his army out of range of those tanks. But the tank shots are brutal, and the third is going to go down for a second time. Do you have a Zealot counterattack? It's, you know, getting some damage done. Is putting in the work? Can we force a cancel? Maybe. As we clean up that Zealots, we do see Cyan desperately trying to take another third base. Again, Cyan, he is so close to advancing into the finals. He's so close to that 3-0, but in this matchup, there are ways to come back. There are ways to bounce back, but they rely a lot, I feel like, on the Terran player to make a mistake, or to catch them off guard with some kind of hidden tech, like DTs or disruptors, or rushing into Sky Toss, rushing into a high form of tech. Here, Cyan, he's just trying to stabilize and macro out of this, but he's just so far behind. It's not going to be easy. As he's reclaiming that third. Coffee is up almost 40 supply. It looks like Coffee is just waiting for his ghosts. He's waiting for Ghosts and Vikings for EMPs. And of course, right now, Cyan, he's heavily reliant on his Colossi, so a good Viking count would be just a good way to secure a push. Now, Cyan, he is going into Disruptors, and to be honest, that is a good way to come back. There's a world. Even if Coffee is up 30 or 40 army supply, give us like 2 good Purification Novas, and Cyan can defend. Cyan, he can bounce back with some good Novas. But again, it's relying on Coffee messing up his splitting, unable to react, and taking a big Nova to the face or catching him off guard. There is a chance. There is a hope. You have the Prism Drop getting poised to dive into the main. Coffee getting his 4th base up and running. Cyan still 1 base behind, trying to get his own 4th. He's down in the economy, down in bases. Coffee, give him a little bit more time and he will max out. He is close to maxing. And then there will be nothing holding him back. I feel like Coffee is probably just waiting for 2-2. Like 2-2, it's over halfway done. So may as well wait for that timing. Cyan, meanwhile, knocking down those rocks. Oh god, nah, we can't take a fight though. Not here, not now. No! Cyan, he gets caught out. He gets spotted. Nova goes off. Good connection. A good detonation with that Nova, but we catch the rest of the army. Yeah, big EMP. Colossi going down one after the other. The Archons, they cannot sustain themselves. Do you have the picture in picture? Do you have a big Zealot warping into the main base? This is getting damage done, but Cyan's main army is almost non-existent. He's down to a handful of units. As we dive on board, Nova goes off. Big connection once again, but connections on their own is not good enough. GG gets called, and Coffee, he fights back, putting a point on the board. Whew. GG. Pappy as well, but there are some other interesting features when it comes to the goal base, when it comes to the ramps. But here we go, we're getting into game number 4, and spawning in the bottom right hand corner we have our Protoss player Cyan, and in the top left we have his opponent. We have the Chinese Terran Coffee for Mystery Gaming. Again, this is a team kill. Mystery versus Mystery, not to be confused with the player Mystery, who was also from China. Don't confuse them. As we're getting into our next game here, and we're going to be going for a bit of an SCB scout across the map. Interesting. Looking to be a more economic opener. As you see, 1 gas. I don't see a second. I keep my eye on that SCV as we are going to be heading over towards the 3rd base location. And it looks like we're trying to go for an eBay block, but we get scouted. Good movement there out of Cyan. We are going for the eBay block, but Cyan, he scouts well ahead of time. He pulls the boys, and he will cancel this eBay, which means Cyan is going to be able to expand on location without too much issue. So very good scout here. Again, eBay blocks have been quite popular ever since the new patch, but they have died off. eBay blocks have died off over the past couple of months. Reason is Protoss players have adapted. They've gotten much better here at scouting and checking for the eBay. So we do force a cancel, and we are getting into our Nexus. Now, this did force some lost mining time out of Cyan. That is true. Did force some lost mining time, but is still able to expand where he needs to. Meanwhile, because it was an eBay block, we actually don't have the resources for the CC. So despite the single gas opener, this is still a Rax into factory, and this typically leads into a Cyclone. Can go into Hellion, but typically Cyclone. So here we go. We do see our add-on swap on the way for the reactor on that factory. CC on the high ground. CC is delayed. And it looks like the probe arrives. We deny the add-on swap. Otherwise, the probe would have snuck underneath and would have denied it. Or would have, again, denied any kind of landing. And there is that Cyclone in production. So really nice damage from that probe. That probe would just stopped any kind of add-on swap. And behind this, Cyan, he's done with the Stargate opener, thankfully. I'm not too fond of Stargate openers against Coffee, specifically because he's a very aggressive player, and Stargate openers can be really risky against that sort of thing. They're good for macro games, but Coffee, he's not a standard Terran. So it's going to be a Twilight Council and Blink on the way for the Protoss. Is going to be Blink on the horizon. Meanwhile, yeah, there we go. It does start up. Gateways are being thrown down. And the question becomes, how many gateways? I believe that is going to be the second gate on the way. So just 2 gate Blink for the time being. Robo has been thrown down, and this could just be 2 gate Blink into a third, or we could throw down additional gateways for a more aggressive build. So we'll keep an eye on Cyan. Meanwhile, Coffee just building up towards his mine job, expanding and taking his natural base, getting into his own game. Getting into his own build. Yeah, Probe Scout does confirm that it is not going to be a one base all-in, which I would not put past Coffee at all. Wouldn't put it past him. And once again, how many gateways? That is a 3rd and 4th gateway. It's going to be 4 gate Blink out of Cyan. A very aggressive build here. Is going to be building up a hefty Stalker count, and he can counterattack. Now, we saw Cyan kind of fumble his 4 gate Blink in game 1 when he lost his Warp Prism. We'll see if he's able to retain it this time. As the mine drop is poised to go into the main. Remember, Cyan, he saw the Widowmine with his Probe Scout, so he should be aware of the potential of a mine drop. Meanwhile, Coffee is going into some much faster tank production. I love this. So he went into his initial mine drop, then straight into a tech lab, into tanks. Remember, this is something that Coffee didn't do in game 1, and he was punished for it. But this time, fast tanks, that is ideal against 4 gate Blink. We need those tanks in position to defend. Meanwhile, Cyan isn't pushing. He's waiting for the drop instead, and he's transitioning. Okay, so instead of warping in, instead of the Warp Prism, we're going for a 3rd, and we're going for a Bay. Cyan, he's building up towards the mid-game. Now, this isn't the most efficient build out of Cyan, because it means that you made all these gateways, but you're not making use of them. Because we're skipping warp-ins. We're skipping warp-ins to actually afford... to afford that Nexus, to afford the Bay. And again, that Nexus and that Rolex Bay could have been faster if it was a 2 gate Blink opener instead. So not the most efficient build here out of Cyan. Meanwhile, the drop is deterred. It is going to be denied. But we have a Liberator slipping in, getting 2 probe kills, and getting another probe in the main. Ooh, Cyan, he is distracted. He does get a kill in the medevac. So good snipe there from Cyan. Does lose another probe, as the Liberator is being as annoying as possible. But it is keeping Cyan busy. Is keeping Cyan busy here. Again, Coffee just working towards Stim, +1. Colossus production has commenced for Cyan. Now, what I will say is that Coffee is going to have a big timing with his tanks. He's been building up a pretty hefty tank count to defend against the 4 gate Blink, so he can push out. Now, this won't be too committed if he does, because there is a 3rd CC on the way, but I believe the 3rd CC was out of range of Cyan. I believe the Observer just wasn't able to scout it. See Cyan getting into his own 3rd. Building up towards charge, towards Colossus. Rounding out his army. SCB Scout does confirm the third base. So Coffee now knows that Cyan has been pivoting away and transitioning out of his aggressive opener, at least initially. Which means Coffee should be feeling pretty safe right now. As he is building up. Now he should also recognize that his opponent must have skipped some warp in, so we could maybe punish him. Stalkers are coming from behind. They go for the medevac. Oh, they do get it. Big pickup. One medevac goes down. Third base is being taken. We are going to be main-hunting over. Stalkers, they trade with the Marines. They pick off a decent amount of them, but we don't get the tanks. As the Observer does get eyes on the SCVs, which means Cyan, yeah, he's aware of the third. Looks like Liberator, yeah, was finally cleaned up. Did go down. Cyan repositioning, ready to receive the army. Observer has been spotted. Keen eyes there to Coffee. Let's go. Spots the Observer, shuts it down, which means now Cyan is in the dark. He doesn't see whether or not the army is moving out. I spoke too soon because here comes a replacement Observer. Right on top of the main army at the third base. Cyan, he sees all. Ooh, despite that, blinks into tanks. Oh my god. Cyan, calm down. Does take some big tank shots to the face. A bit of miscontrol there, or mismovement out of Cyan. Do you see a drop moving out? Cyan, he spots the drop with the Observer. Does see, does know. Should be warping in defensively. Here we have cannons on the way. We have a couple of Stalkers back at home to defend. As I say, the Stalkers are actually moving out to reinforce. Nah, they're back at home. We're good. We are in position. And Cyan, he's unable to push his way towards that third base. Instead, takes the gold. Is going for the gold. That's a second robo on the way. That's going to be for Disruptor production. There we go. Disruptor's now on the way. So Cyan, he's just rounding out his army, getting from Colossus into Disruptors. Meanwhile, Coffee working towards Ghosts. Once again, a very bio-heavy composition, headed towards Ghost and Vikings. Kind of your standard setup here in the mid-game of TVP. Is what we expect to see. But we've seen this go back and forth. We've seen Cyan take some really good trades and some really good fights. At least in the previous games. So Coffee has to be careful. Scan misses the Observer. Observer able to barely get away. So good reaction out of Cyan. Able to unsiege in time. Medevac drop into the main. Stalkers are in position. Dark Shrine is on the way here for Cyan. So bit of a risky move, but we'll see if it pays off. DTs, they have a lot of potential to wreak havoc and deal a lot of economic damage. Whether it's killing SCVs or even killing bases. Yeah, we've all seen a surround of DTs on a planetary. We've seen it die in a matter of seconds. As we do manage to catch that Observer. Army sizes are comparable. Very comparable with each other. It's going to come down to the spellcasters. What I mean by that is going to come down to the EMPs. It's going to come down to the Purification Novas. And of course, the control of the main armies as well. Whether we can avoid the EMP, avoid the Purification Novas, outposition the other. As the main army of Cyan has been spotted. Scan confirms its location. Coffee, does he try to pounce on the army? Does he try to avoid it? Observer does also get eyes on Coffee as well. So both players, they see each other. And again, it's kind of like a game of chicken. Like it's about who commits first. Both players are posturing. But who does go for the kill? Oh, Blink on the way for the DTs. Okay, Blink. We have Observer Speed. That is a third robo in production. That's a lot of robo. That's a lot of robo, partners. We are just fanning out our Marines, trying to get a read on where the army is. Maxing out. +1 ship weapons on the way to help out the Vikings, to help out, eventually, Liberator production. We do have a bit of a counterattack setup, which is spotted. +1 air attack is on the way. Cyan, we're headed towards SkyToss. Remember, by the way, I almost forgot. Cyan, he's had the goal base the entire time, which has yet to be confirmed until now. Yeah, the Zelnaga was in control of Coffee, which means he does see the gold. He now knows what's been happening. He now is aware. And with that goal base, Cyan, he's able to afford that transition into SkyToss, whether it's Tempest or Carrier or both. He's working on it. That is the ideal late game for Protoss in this matchup. Coffee still one step behind. He's building up his Vikings. There we go. Fusion Core's on the way. Don't get too excited. The Fusion Core doesn't mean BCs, unfortunately. Fusion Core is going to be for Liberator range. To get into Libs. This is ideal against Ground Toss initially. Medevac drop is going to be shut down. There you can see Advanced Ballistics on the way. That is Liberator range. Scan. Oh, we've been rallying the observers. We got 1, we get 2, we get 3. 3 observers go down. Oh, brutal miss rally there from Cyan. Very valuable scan there from Coffee. Going for a Marauder run by. He waddles in, but we have Zealots to defend. And there it is. We have +2 ship weapons on the way for Coffee, and we're making 4 Liberators at a time. Now there's going to be a window. Essentially, SkyToss is good and all, but it takes a long time to really get going. It takes a long time to produce Carriers and Tempests. So we can dive and engage before the SkyToss hits the field. Are we going for a base trade? Coffee does come across these Zealots. Gonna be keeping his tanks at him to defend. The Vikings are pushing forward. That's a lot of disruptors. It's a lot of disruptors, and we are going for the base trade. Coffee goes across the map. He goes straight for the gold. Meanwhile, Cyan cannot push in. There's just too much freedom. Too many Liberators, too many tanks. Cyan, he cannot break the 3rd. Meanwhile, his 4th is broken. The gold base is killed. Against Cyan, he just cannot commit to he can't initiate the base trade. Has to back off. Meanwhile, can Coffee get home? Uh-oh. Coffee, can he get back home? We do dive in. Liberators are repositioning. Nova's going to be going off. They only take down 1 Marauder. Good split so far, and Coffee does make it back home. Good movement overall. Snipes the base, makes it back. Carrier production has commenced, but Coffee's maxed. And Coffee should soon be pushing out once again. He's thinking about it. Observer comes in. Now, Cyan was able to retake his own 4th. I say 4th. He was able to expand and take a 5th base on the right-hand side. Sorry, I kept calling the gold base his 4th. The gold was his 5th. Was his 5th base. Vikings going in. They take down every single Colossus. The Colossi fall. Ooh, but we do snipe one of those ghosts. Snipe one of those ghosts. Not bad as the armies dance with each other. That's still a lot of supply and disruptors, which is concerning. I'm concerned because disruptors are good, but they can't really protect themselves. They're quite vulnerable units. They're very fragile. DT run by coming in. Big Nova on the army. Does connect. Coffee dropping in supply heavily there. That was a big Nova. We get 6 SCVs, the DTs and Zealots. They do get on top of the tanks. Tanks are going down. SCVs as well. Oh, this DT Zealot run by doing so much. Oh, Cyan asking for a bit of a pause. Oh, hopefully everything's okay. I don't know if you saw there, but it did look like Cyan was experiencing a bit of wrist pain there. I don't know if there's some wrist pain going on or if something else was happening. Now, thankfully, the pause was after the fight ended. Like, the DT harass was being cleaned up and the army was backing off. It wasn't in the middle of a big engagement. But hopefully Cyan is okay. Again, StarCraft, it's an intense game. And wrist issues have been a thing that have plagued certain players out there in the history of StarCraft. So there's a bit of a PSA if you're out there. Take care of yourselves. Remember to stretch. Remember to take a break. And here we go. We're diving back in. We are good to go. Oh my, that nukes. I was flabbergasted. I was speechless for a moment there. I didn't realize how many Ghost Academies we had. Coffee, Papi. We're getting into nuke production. Liberators are amassing. Zelarambai coming back in. Once again towards that third. Ooh, they take down a CC. That's a kill, not a cancel or a lift even. 400 minerals down the drain. We do collapse here on top of some of these zealots. Now again, even though Cyan is getting damaged on the right hand side, Cyan cannot push into the liberation zones. He doesn't have an answer yet because he's not making stalkers. Cyan, he's not making stalkers, he's waiting for the carrier, so there's no good answer for these libs. The freedom, it's here, it has arrived. You can see Cyan trying to reposition, but does push short with some of those stalkers. Again, very few stalkers to work with. We will hold on. Zelarame coming back in for a third time. But we have freedom. We will clean this up. Not without losing some SCBs. There he goes up. Ooh, gets a couple of marauders. Nothing major, but you can see Coffee, he wants to dive. He wants to dive on this army. We spoke about it. This army looking so vulnerable. Good splits out of Coffee. Cyan being forced back to his base. And Coffee making sure that the gold is not retaken. He will shut it down, but carriers have arrived. So Cyan going to be losing his base, but carriers have made it. Nova's going to be going up. Sending back the army and the carriers. Their goal here is to shut down these libs. And they're going for one of them. Nuke is thrown down. Ooh, oh, that was a clutch Nova. The Nova takes down the Ghost. Nuke is denied. Bold move there out of Cyan. Refuses to back away. Coffee picking up his main base, landing it as his 6th. He's going to be taking his 6th base. Liberators attempting to go for some harassment. They think about it. Scan gets eyes on the main army. So basically, Coffee is pushing towards top right. He knows that that's not where the carriers are. This is the downside of Skytoss. Skytoss is very immobile. DTs do spot the army, and that gives Cyan the time he needs to reposition himself. So you can see his main army in the minimap pushing through the center. And does Cyan push? As he moves out, though, here come the libs. The Liberators, they siege up at these southern bases. Carriers, they push towards the center 5th. And the 5th base is exposed. Planetary under fire. Coffee coming in from behind. That's a lot of Vikings. He gets 1, he gets 2. Where is the anti-air? Where is the support? The carriers are so exposed. We get 3 carriers. We're going to get a 4th. No stalkers, no archons, no support here. The Vikings, they wreak havoc. They get almost every single carrier. And Cyan is in a lot of trouble. This is why pure Skytoss is not ideal. You need Storm or Archons or Stalkers. You need something to support. Disruptors, they didn't shoot up. And Coffee is running away with this. Again, he killed so many carriers. It takes so long to replace them. We're trying to make some Archons. That's something. But again, pure carrier, it's not ideal. Or pure carrier disruptor, which is what Cyan has. And Coffee identified the weakness here. He's making 3 nukes. Let's go. The nukes are on the way. Nukes are on the way. Cyan falling behind in the worker counts. Still replacing all those carriers, still rebuilding. I'm just worried that he just doesn't have enough to deal with these Vikings, even with the Remax. He has 2 Archons. I don't know if I'm convinced by that. As here we go. Coffee scans. Almost gets another carrier. Now he does have to respect those Archons as the Vikings are on their own. But when the main army comes in, we can EMP. And we shut down the gold once again for a 3rd time. The gold base has fallen. The harassing Liberators are being cleaned up. We get a nuke here towards the center of the map, but we spot the Ghost. Really nice nuke defense here by Cyan so far. Denying both nukes. But you can see Coffee's trying to catch out the army. Is spotted. Never going up. You see the Vikings looking for any exposed carriers. Stalkers, they try to punish them. They're taking the EMP to the face. The dance has begun. Meanwhile, a nuke towards the south. Not the most saturated base, so not the most impactful nuke, but could get damage done nonetheless. Yeah, as a nuke, it looks like it is going to connect. Takes down 4 probes. Meanwhile, we have another nuke here on the main army. Vikings going ham. Nova goes off. We shut down the ghost, but the base falls. And that's what matters here. Cyan losing another base is chasing this army back. The Archon overextending a little bit. Takes an EMP to the face, so now we're pushing in. We think about it. Armies are going to back off. Again, Cyan's economy is still hurting. What this really means is that if Cyan takes a bad fight, it's going to take a long time to remax. Or he won't be able to remax in time. So Cyan has to be very careful with how he does engage. Vikings are coming in. Oh, they get a carrier. We have been building up the Stalker count. We have invested into 2 more Archons and additional Stalkers. We catch another carrier. Oof. Again, expensive losses for Cyan. We're diving the army. More carriers going to be going down. Novas are avoided. Time and time again. It's a good movement here by Coffee. Making 5 more ghosts. Again, Cyan just trying to keep the attention of Coffee here on the front lines while Cyan double expands. Well, I say double expand. He's taking top right. Or center right. Trying to retake that base. 3 probes at a time. Zealot Runback comes in. Does end up catching Coffee out of position. Army pushes in. Going for the planetary. Good pickoffs. Nuke has been spotted. It looks like the planetary should barely burn down. It's going to be close. Nuke connects. We don't get the planetary. We do get an orbital. As we just layer on these, we layer on the nukes, forcing a recall. Yeah, it gets the observer back home. You can see really confident defense whenever he does spot it. Shuts the ghost down, takes down the northern planetary. Here come the Vikings. They want a carrier. They're going to get one. But this should be forcing ground toss. Like, clearly, the investment into carriers has not been worth it. It's been hurting Cyan more than helping him. We need to go into a gateway heavy composition instead. Give up on the sky toss. Oh, as another carrier goes down. And another, as we almost one-shot. We could almost one-shot the carriers at this point. Jesus. The +3 Vikings going ham. Nuke goes off. Nova, it looks like, oh, barely doesn't reach. But then we do pull back from the nuke. Won't connect. Zealot run by wreaking havoc forces some of these Vikings to land. Now you may be thinking, is Coffee going to be in trouble here? Because, as we've been pointing out, Cyan has been making more carriers. He has a ground toss army. Do we have too much supply in Vikings? That is a question we have to ask ourselves, and Coffee has to ask himself as well. Do we have too many Vikings? And if Cyan completely transitions out of Skytoss, is a dead supply? Now, thankfully, the Vikings, of course, they can land, so they're not useless. They can help, but they're less than ideal against this kind of army. So Coffee has to be careful. He does have to bleed out some of these Vikings and slowly transition out of them into more libs and into more ghosts. So there's a balance here that has to be kept. You know, the ratio of... We're still making more Vikings. Like, the ratio from Viking to carrier is becoming a little bit lopsided because we're down to 3 carriers. Like, we have not made a carrier in quite some time. And we're still making more Vikings. Uh-oh. So I'm scared that even though Coffee's been doing well for himself, Cyan can still win a big fight. Here we go. He is going to be counter-attacking. Does hit the third base. No mining. We do catch some exposed Liberators. 3 libs go down. Big pickoffs. We do catch 3 Liberators. Orbital's going to be falling as well. Couple of stray Vikings. We're still making more Vikings, by the way. And they are going ham. They take down 1 more carrier. They take down 2 more. 1 carrier is left. And hopefully we can stop Viking production. Because we have too many. DTs are going ham. We do see Coffee taking the gold for his own. Like, there was a moment, there was a period, there was a window in this game. You saw it as well, I'm sure, where Cyan, he dropped 40 supply when he lost so many carriers and when Coffee took a massive engagement. But now the supply, the gap, it is closed. We're evening up the supply. And it's looking a little bit more efficient here for Cyan. He rotates around, he catches the northern base. And again, Coffee completely out of position. Novas are going to be going off. The planetary will fall. And we're going for a base trade. We're going for a base trade. The problem here, as Coffee tries to move out, is that we can always recall. Yeah, Coffee, he thought about it. You could see on the minimap, he was thinking about counterattacking with his army, but he comes back to the towards the north. He rotates back around, which means that his army just wasn't able to do much. And we're coming back in. We're coming back for the base. DT's towards the bottom left. And again, Coffee, he's being pulled apart. Doesn't know where to go. He's engaging. Show us the fight. He's pushing in. The Novas. Big connection. Oh my god. Massive connection on the ghosts. Most of the ghosts go down. Coffee's plummeting in supply. Another big connection on the ghosts as well. Ay, ay, ay. And what does Coffee have left? He has a handful of units on the ground. The Vikings, they're landing. You can see here that was 10 ghosts killed. That was a lot of ghosts falling. And Cyan is remaxing. Coffee forced to land his Vikings. Again, his army is mainly composed of Vikings at this point. Cyan, he takes the gold for his own. Does shut it down. Coffee, he was looking so good this game. Let's be real. Coffee, he was popping off when he killed all those carriers initially. But things have slipped away from him a little bit here. And Cyan, he's bouncing back quite hard. Again, all it takes sometimes is one good Nova. Army's pushing in. Ghosts are spotted. Liberation zones, though, they will force back the army. Yeah, the freedom is real. Ooh, they take down an Archon. Good snipe. And you can see in a head-on fight, Cyan is being bullied back. Cyan, he cannot engage against all these liberation zones. He snipes the Ghost. Really clinical play there out of Cyan, but he will lose the base. And you can see Cyan, he knows he cannot engage head-on. He's either going to flank the army or just go for a counterattack. Yet he's ignoring the army. Big counterattack instead. Again, he knows he cannot push into those freedom zones. Vikings turning back around. Liberators repositioning. We can snipe some of them here in the reposition. Yeah, Liberators are being sniped. Nova's going to be going off as well. Big connections on the Marauders. Oof. Barely not connecting towards the end. The Lib! The Disruptor almost gets sniped. Almost does get sniped, and you can see the army supplies are evening up. It is still very close. We bleed out another Liberator. Take it. We deny top left. We deny the center base. Liberator going ham here towards the south. We do deny mining at the gold. Yeah, forcing a big warp in. As we see Coffee trying to retake that gold base. Not gonna happen. Cyan, though, he's diving on the main army. He's going for the dive. Do we have an over available? We don't. Disruptor goes down. Cyan does kill the CC. Still has a good disruptor count. Coffee's running out of money. Coffee, he has 2 mining bases. He has center left and that northern base. And he's running out of mineral patches. You can see even here he's got one mineral patch left. But he's got a handful. But one mining SCB. We dive on top of these Vikings. Vikings are going down. And that means we can get into Tempest. The Viking count is being reset. We can go back into Sky Toss. And Cyan, he's remaxed. New towards bottom left. Doesn't get much. We do react in time. Big Marine run by here. We'll get some probe kills. And the armies are about to clash. Never goes off. Nova's going to be going off as well. Good connections here on the Bio Army. And yes, Coffee is running out of steam. You can see here that Coffee, he has no money. He has no minerals. He's broke, Papi. No. Coffee, he's broke. He's running out of money. Again, he had a really good moment. He had a good period in this game where he was ahead. He was in the driver's seat for a while, but it has just slipped through his fingers, has fallen by the wayside. A big engagement here for Cyan. He's just pulling this army apart, shutting it down. The Vikings are falling. GG gets called, and Cyan, he does it. He comes back, and he will claim the series 3-1. GG. Oh my god. GG, well played. Congratulations here to Cyan as he does take the series 3-1. What a comeback as well. He was dead in the water. Remember, Cyan was the one running out of money. He was the one running out of resources. He was the one that lost like 6 carriers in one fight, and he plummeted in supply. He was down, what, 40, 50 supply, but he held, he survived. He was able to survive long enough to stabilize, to eventually get out of Sky Toss, and Coffee was stuck making Vikings. He was stuck making Vikings, which meant his army was just subpar. He was trading worse, and eventually he was pulled apart. Again, just tunnel visioning a little bit too much, and we have our finals. Firefly versus Cyan. We could not stop the PvP. We could not stop the mirror matchup finals. It is going to be a Protoss versus Protoss in those finals tomorrow. Not tonight, but tomorrow. There we go. Firefly versus Cyan. Best of 5. Let's go. It is going to be tomorrow's match. So it's been a pretty intense 3 days of StarCraft here. Been a pretty intense 3 days. And it's all going to come down to Firefly versus Cyan. Mañana. It's going to be beautiful. Be there as we're going to be live here tomorrow, as we always are here on the channel. But just like today, tomorrow we're going to be casting Sparkling Tuna Cup, and we will be delaying the StarsWar 11 Asia qualifier cast by a couple of hours. Oh my god. The wobs are real. I need to calm that down a little bit. The wobs are real. But yeah, GG, well played. Congratulations to Cyan. Again, Firefly versus Cyan is going to be tomorrow in less than 24 hours. So be sure you're there. Be sure you are a part of that. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be beautiful. And we will be crowning our Asia champion, and we're going to be having our seed for the main event. Either Firefly or Cyan, yet to be determined. Now, as I was saying, tomorrow we're going to be live with Sparkling Tuna Cup. It's going to be in less than 24 hours. Actually, I could just check the calendar. Hold on. In 17 hours. In 17 hours time, we're going to be live on the channel with Sparkling Tuna Cup. Now, this event, the StarsWar 11 Asia qualifier, actually starts 2 hours into Sparkling Tuna Cup. So we're going to be finishing Sparkling Tuna Cup first, which is our open weekly tournament that we do host on a weekly basis. We're going to be focusing on Sparkling Tuna Cup, and then afterwards we're going to be going over this after the events play out. So it won't be a live cast for StarsWar 11. It's going to be a live cast for Sparkling Tuna Cup, but we're going to be casting Firefly versus Cyan basically a couple of hours after. A couple of hours after the fact. Just as a heads up. Because again, we are going to be prioritizing our events. So again, there is that to look forward to, and it's going to be a great PvP. Again, I want to favor Firefly in tomorrow's match, in tomorrow's finals, but it's a PvP. Anything could happen. Cyan does take it to Firefly, and it's just going to be a very unpredictable matchup. So best of luck. Best of luck to both players. It's going to be great. Meanwhile, just catching up in the chat. I am catching up. What has been going on? Super nice match. It has been. It was great. It was a great series. Great series. I'm catching him in the chat. I see Nostra Beefs in the chat. Yeah. Careful of spoilers. Careful of spoilers. As these matches occurred a couple of hours ago. Oh good. All good. Coffee hasn't woken up yet. Smurge. He didn't have his coffee, Bobby. He didn't have his coffee. All good. I hope a Firefly. He's fun to watch. He is fun to watch. He's a great player to watch. With Sparkling 2 the casting, you might have to delay Star Wars casting 2 tomorrow. Yes, exactly. We will most likely be delaying the StarsWar casting tomorrow. But that should only be for tomorrow. Afterwards, we should be able to cast everything live moving forward. Should be all good. As a reminder as well, I'm going to be returning to Australia. I'm returning to Australia in a couple of days. On Wednesday, I'm going to be returning. I'm going to say that it's going to be a 32-hour trip. So as a heads up, we usually cast on a daily basis here on the CranKy Ducklings, but on Wednesday, we will not be live as I will be on a plane. I'm going to be traveling back home to the land of Australia. When I return home, the camera will return as well. The cams are going to be on. It's going to be crazy. It feels like it's been so long since I've casted with a camera. So that means I have to put clothes on. I'm going to have to put some clothes on. I'm going to have to, doll myself up for the cam as well, for the viewers. Smooch. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be amazing. No more Frozen. Exactly. Exclamation mark unfrozen. True. But yeah, with that, I hope everyone enjoyed themselves. Again, the finals of the Asia Closed Qualifier is tomorrow. Likewise, Sparkling Tuna Cup also is tomorrow. It's our weekly open tournament. So you should be seeing players from Europe, from Asia, from the Americas. They all come together for our tournament here in 17 hours time. So look forward to it. Otherwise, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next time. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Discord. Exclamation mark socials in the chat. We have social media all over the place. And again, we are live every single day on this channel. So usually every single day. I just said that Wednesday we won't be live because I'm going to be traveling. But we're usually live every single day. Plenty of content on Twitch. Plenty of content on YouTube as well. So make sure you're a part of that. Otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow for some more StarCraft. Stick around. We're going to be giving another streamer a raid. Who are we going to be who are we going to be raiding? Who is live at the moment? I see ZombieGov just went live. There's Loco, there's Gabe, there's Lambo. Who else do we have? Colossi. Colossal Gulp is live. Haven't seen Colossus in a while. Poison is live. And many others. Okay, so we'll give some love to a fellow StarCraft caster, as it looks like Zombie Grub just went live. So again, you can support Zombie Grub. I think we'll just have a ladder session. I think it's just gonna be ladder. So check it out. Do enjoy it. Again, Zombie Grub is a great caster. Does cover many premier events out there. So give some love and give some support. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for some more StarCraft. Until then, hasta luego. Ciao, papi, ciao. Hasta luego.